Hello. So I had just recorded one of these, another talking while trucking, and it didn't record the sound. But I had gone to Birmingham, which is where I'll be taking a work trip to, and it didn't record the sound. So I'm just gonna do a different one. It's annoying, but who cares? I just want to talk about stuff. Birmingham was disappointing, but it only showed me one thing anyway. Where can you have me go? I don't want to drive through England because it's always on the wrong side. Let's go Rotterdam to Luxembourg. Oh wait, no, that's Reims, France. Good, let's go to France. They drive on the side of the road that I'm more used to. I was talking about in the, the video that wasn't recorded about how I had once driven a car at my old work that had a steering wheel on the other side of the car, and how I thought I would be completely fine to, drive it a short distance. All I had to do was drive it forward a little bit and then make a right turn. And it was so hard for me to make a right turn. I was shocked about how hard it was, because it isn't that hard for me to make a left turn with the steering wheel on the left. I don't know why it was so hard to make a right turn with the steering wheel on the right. Something about it completely threw me off. It's like that thing, I guess. I don't know if there's this thing where this guy talks about bicycles, and they take a bicycle and they weld it so that when you turn the handle left, you go right, and if you turn the handle right, you go left, which is the opposite of what bicycles do. And no one can really do it. If you learn how to ride a bike and then you go on this bike, you cannot do it. You might think, oh, it shouldn't be that hard, but your body is just so used to the normal way of riding a bike, that left is left and such, that you can't do it. So this guy talks about how our minds are strict. It might be a TED Talk, I'm not sure if it's a TED Talk. And he spends so much of his time trying to learn how to actually ride this bike. And eventually he's able to do it, actually. He spent a lot of time, though. I think he spent over a year actually focusing on riding a bike that turns the wrong way. And then he's like, well, I have a 3-year-old son who knows how to ride a bike. I don't know how old his son is. I guess you're 5 when you learn how to ride, maybe. So I have this son that rides a bike, and he's young. He hasn't developed the muscle memory that bikes go one direction. Also, it's raining, and I don't actually know the key for my wipers. I accidentally turned them on last time. So he's like, oh, my son, he could learn. Oh, there it is. He could learn how to ride a bicycle the opposite way, And his son learns it almost immediately. And then once he goes and learns how to ride a bike the wrong way, he tries to switch back to a normal bicycle. And again, he can't do it. He can't access the memory that he had. And he keeps working at it, and eventually he gets back into it a lot easier than he thought he would. But before that, it looked like he couldn't ride a bike, and everyone was making fun of him. It was really interesting to actually see. But it makes sense that your body is just not used to it. So the other things I talked about with the video that didn't work was I talked about how at that same job they had a car that was a manual, and we had to move it. And I was like, oh, I could move a manual, even though I don't know how to drive a manual. I mean, I know the concept, but I thought, oh, if I can just put it in reverse, that's not a hard thing to do. That's not any different than any automatic in reverse. I don't have to pay attention to the gearing while in reverse. So I go to this car, and I start it, and immediately just lunges forward and hits a garbage can that's in front of it. So I immediately stop it, turn it off, and then walk out, and oh, well, not touching this again. So what happened, and I didn't know this at the time, and people said it shouldn't have done this, because we have safety things in the US that don't allow this to happen anymore, is that most US cars now that are manual, if you hold down the brake, then you can start it. But if you don't have the brake started, pressed down, then you can't start the car. It won't crank or anything. This is because if it's in gear, it will lunge forward like it happened with me. So basically what happened was someone left it in gear, and I started it, and since it wasn't a US vehicle, it didn't have the safety measure that you had to be in holding down the brake first. So basically you can just start it without holding down the brake, and that means you're in first gear, so you go forward. And that's what happened. But I still never touched it after that. I've never driven a manual since then, and I've never really driven it because that was just reverse. And the other main thing I talked about last time was I was in a car crash back in January of last year. So January 2015, I think that makes sense. No, 2014. It's been a while. It's off my insurance now. So what had happened was, it was winter, January, obviously. And I'm in a region that actually gets snow and ice. And I guess it was pretty icy at the time. And I was less than a mile from home, and I was going 45 miles an hour. And I thought, hey, that's way too fast. Even though this is speed limit, it's too fast because it's icy. So I brake, and I swerve. And I swerve into the left lane. And then I correct myself to turn to the right, into the lane I'm supposed to be in. And I slide off into a ditch, get launched up into the air. My car flips to its side and then lands on the passenger side. So I have my seatbelt on. I kind of come to, and I realize what happens. I remember being launched in the air, but I don't remember anything after that. And I'm like kind of dangling, and I realize that I'm kind of like tilted, and I unbutton my seatbelt and I fall down onto the passenger side door. And it's like impossible for me to like get my bearings. Like it takes a while for me to understand what exactly happened. Like it's like, where am I? Which way's up? Where's my car? What happened? And I start to realize, it's on its side. And even though the driver's side door is above me, and that's where I need to exit from, for some reason that doesn't even occur to me to do that. For some reason I think I need to break the windshield in front of me. And like, I can't do that, so I fear like I'm going to get trapped and then freeze or something. I'm also scared that the airbags are just going to like pop out and pin me or something. Because that happens actually. People are pinned by their airbags or it breaks their neck, because those shoot out with a lot of force. Which I think is why you're supposed to have car seats face away from the airbags, because the airbags could kill them or suffocate them or something. So that's why I was worried about. And then eventually someone had seen me, and they opened the driver's side door, and I was able to get out. So that totaled the car and everything. The entire windshield on the right side was cracked, and it had to be totaled. The mirror was broken off. Dirt and everything were on it. But I went back to the crash scene. Oh, I need to get gas. I should get gas. So I went back to the crash scene and actually got the passenger side mirror, and I kept it above my bed for a while. I don't know where it is right now, but I kept it as a souvenir. Oh, look at this great gas filling. But yeah, it's a good little talk. I don't really know like what the lesson here is. I guess if you are driving too fast on ice, you're not supposed to stop. I think that's correct. And I guess I didn't know that. So I guess the moral is don't drive too fast on ice, and if you are driving too fast, I guess don't stop. Don't slow down? That doesn't seem right to say, but it might be correct. So there's my life advice to you. Don't drive too fast, but if you are driving too fast, continue driving too fast. Oh, it sounds awful. Sounds like I'm encouraging people to just drive too fast. Don't hit the guy. Don't hit the guy with like explosive. definitely don't want to explode. I wish I had paid more attention to what you're supposed to do on ice. And the other thing is that I'm really scared of winter driving now. Like the year after it happened, we luckily didn't get that much snow. But I was really worried every time I had to drive when there was snow or any kind of ice. Because, you know, trauma. But it wasn't that bad. I actually bought a car that's rear-wheel drive, and everyone's like, "Oh, you know, that's so scary. You know, you're gonna crash. You're gonna spin out of control all the time, especially in water and ice." And I was really scared about it. I remember driving it home, and I wanted to be like as slow as possible to make sure that I wouldn't spin out. But I've had no problems with that. I got stuck in our parking lot at work, but that was a day like everyone was getting stuck. All these big trucks were too, and we helped people push them out. And once I got out of the parking lot, everything was fine. But that wasn't good. But I have not noticed any issues with being rear-wheel drive. So that's another life advice for you. Don't be scared of rear-wheel drive if you are. I don't think I could tell. I honestly can't. I can't really tell a difference if it was rear-wheel drive or front-wheel drive. And my mine's got traction control, so it's got traction and stability control, so I think it's okay. Am I in France? I think I'm in Belgium. Headlight usage offense. What? What? Do I need to turn on my headlights? What? Do I need to turn on my headlights? That's the horn. No, that's emergency. What's headlights? What's headlights? Headlights, headlights, headlights. Light modes? L and K. Okay. That was weird. Okay, yeah, I guess I should be driving with my lights on. Remember, that's here's more advice for you. I need to be in Luxembourg. If it's raining, you should have your headlights on. Wipers on, lights on. Remember that. It's to help people see you. Dealing out all this car advice. Actually, I'll give out some more car advice. I guess I'll do some car buying advice since I bought a car a year ago once. So, when you're looking for a car, one of the things you should do is you should first consider whether you want to lease or finance. So, if you don't know, the way leasing works is a third party is essentially buying the car. They're buying the car, you're making monthly payments to them, and at the end of the year, you can rebuy it. At the end of your period, which is usually 2-3 years. At the end of that, you can choose to buy it. If not, they're just going to sell it. Because they essentially just have a 2-year-old vehicle. So they have you buy what they think is the proper price of it after 2 years of depreciation and mileage. So you're often limited by mileage as well. And if you go over that mileage, you pay a nominal fee per mile. And then you have to pay for the damages too. So you're essentially renting a car for a very long time and then paying for any damages at the end. My family has leased once, and my dad hated it. And he felt that the value that he had to pay at the end of the lease was way too high for what was a 2-year-old vehicle at the time. So with leasing, you can negotiate how long it's going to be and how many miles you can get overall. And the less miles you get per month, obviously the cheaper it's going to be. So that's leasing. The thing about leasing is that at the end of the lease, if you don't buy the car then, you don't have a vehicle. And then you have to repeat the decision again of, do I want to lease or finance, or, you know, buy with cash if you happen to have enough cash to just drop on a vehicle. Which may or may not be a bad idea, but it probably is, because you could if you can get 0% financing and whatever. Anyway, so at the end of the lease, you have to deal with that. So if you don't get the car, then what you're doing is you just, for 2 years, paid for a vehicle and then not had anything. So there's that issue. But you are able, every 2 years, to update your car, which is what some people like. They like having the newest things, which is certainly a fine thing to do. You know, if you want the latest in safety and so on, then you should lease. And, you know, because every 2 years, they're going to make strides, they're going to change things, they're going to update things, they're going to make cars better, for the most part. So leasing allows you to be on the up and up and have modern cars. Some people, you know, they really like keeping up with the Joneses, you know, especially people with luxury cars, you know. Plus they have the money that it really doesn't matter, they're making consistent payments for a long time. But for some people, you know, maybe leasing isn't for you. So if you buy a car, financing, probably, the financing works like any other financing. You give them a down payment, and then you decide on a term, and then you get a monthly payment that pays off the rest, plus interest. So if something is $40,000, and you give them $10,000, you have $30,000 you still need to buy, and so that $30,000 is divided into the year times 12. So if you have a 4-year financing term, then that's 48 months. So that means the 30,000 is divided by 48, and that is how many, and that is your monthly payment. Plus, there's going to be some interest because they're going to have, you know, want money, and you can get like fixed rate, or which is where your interest rate's always the same, or you can have like a floating rate that changes. So that, and at the end of the term, you own your vehicle. Like, it is yours. You can do what you want with it, you know. And then you can sell it at one point, and then, you know, you're gonna recoup some of your stuff. And we're in France, yay! So the thing about that is that there's a standard rule that I've heard from economists and other people for financial planning. It's called the 4-10-20 rule, or the 4-20-10 rule. I don't really know the order, but it's always the same numbers, 4, 10, and 20. And what this means is simple. Your term for financing should not be more than 4 years. Okay? No more than 4 years. Oh god, this turn is gonna... I guess it's not that bad. So your term should be no more than 4 years. A 5-year or 6-year financing term is ridiculous. It'll be cheaper, but you're going to be paying off this car for a long time. Plus you'll be paying even more in interest. So that's no more than 4 years, 48 months of payments. The 10% means that your monthly payments should not be more than 10% of your monthly take-home income. So if you're taking home $1,000 a month take-home, that means your car and all its associated payments, including insurance or maintenance, which you won't have maintenance every month most likely, your insurance and your car payments and any other car payments should not be more than 10%, which would be, in that case, $100 a month. And then the 20% is that's how much you should put down. You should put down 20% down payment. This is to keep you from going what they call upside down. What am I? Am I in like a military zone? What is this? This is a big mine. That's what it is. So basically, don't, you know, being upside down is when you owe more on your car than when you actually need. Then it's actually worth. I mean, whoa! I almost flipped over there. So that's not good to be upside down. Now, when I bought my car, I had a lot saved up, so I paid cash. I paid some, and my dad paid a little bit more, and I paid him off within a couple months. And so that I guess my advice doesn't pertain to what I did, but you know, I think is really helpful. You know, a lot of people might say, "Oh, financing's awful," or leasing's awful because you don't have anything at the end, but it can be worth it. You can get cheaper for leasing. So the first thing you need to do is determine that. And hopefully me explaining it really kind of helped you determine what you actually wanted. We actually want to give some, insight into what leasing is. Leasing gets kind of a bad rap because you don't own anything at the end. But at the same time, you do get the value of 2 years. Some people just want a car to go A to B, and you can get really cheap prices per month on it. But you can with financing too. And I mean, you can buy your car cash if you happen to have the cash. But I think the thing is, if you can get a better return than what the finance rate would be, then you should definitely take that. Because the thing is, if they offer 0% interest, then there's no reason why you should give them, $40,000 or whatever the car costs. Because you can take that $40,000 and invest it and get returns on it, and just pay off the car. So I don't know. I hope this has helped someone with something with their car. Anyway, I'll see you next time. Bye.